with a passion for open source technologies. Today he will cover usages for string validation and search and replace in his talk titled Regular Expression. I'll now pass the floor to Desmond.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my talk on regular expressions. So today I'm going to be talking about regular expression, and before I dive into that, let me just introduce myself. My name is Desmond Chin. I am a software developer working at Nuara Group here in Brunei. So today's topic is, what is regular expression? So regular expression is a pattern which specifies a set of strings of characters, and it is set to match a certain strings. So what does that mean? So what regular expression is just, say you have a piece of text that needs to match a certain format. The regular expression would be basically a representation of that format. For example, phone numbers in Brunei would be 7 digits, so that would be a regular expression. Postcode in Brunei is 2 letters followed by 4 digits. That is another example of a text format that can be represented using regular expression. So here are some very simple example of regular expression. The first one is matches any integers. So what we have is, I'll go into more details on the regular expression format. But basically the first one just says for any integers, which is from 0 to 9. So that's anything like 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 9, pretty much every single numbers. And the plus just means that if it occurs more than one time, then that would match that regular expression. So that is matching for any numbers, for any digits. And then the second one is in the same manner, but for letters. So any capital letters and any small letters matching once or more. So most people, when they use regular expression, they probably use them for something like email validation, or maybe limiting usernames to certain characters only. But most of these can be found online, and you can just copy and paste them. And when you do that, sometimes you find very complicated looking regular expression, and it can seem very, very intimidating to learn what is actually going on in the regular expression. So I think most people don't actually dive in and learn how does it work and how do you make your own regular expression. So today I'm hoping to run through some of the common regular expression syntax, and maybe just clear up some of like what is going on in the regular expression that you see everywhere, and also how you can use it to be more productive, whether it's writing code or cleaning up data, etc. So what can you do with regular expressions? Well, the two most common uses for regular expressions is string validation and search and replace. For string validation, that would be like what I mentioned just now. Let's say if you have a form where you need to take in phone numbers, but you only want to accept, for example, Bruneian phone numbers, and you don't want anyone to just enter any number to bypass the form. You want to make sure that the data they enter matches the format that you want. In that case, you can specify, you can write a regex, a regular expression, which is short. Regex is short for regular expressions. Sorry if I skipped that. But so you can write regex so that it only allows the user to input digits that are 7 digits for Brunei phone number, and I'll show an example later on. And for search and replace, it is a similar thing. So you can write a regex so that you can find certain text in your code or your text document, and then only replace those matches. And what's more powerful is if you use the capture group feature, where you can capture a certain portion of the string that you are trying to replace, and then use it in the resulting output. which I will show an example later on. So now I will move on to show a quick run through of the common regular expressions that I use. So to do that, I'm going to use this website called regexer.com. There are a similar website to these that basically visualizes how regular expression works. And here's an example at regexer.com. So right now it has the default regular expression. And if you hover over them, you can see that there's explanation that says what does this mean. So if you hover over this, it says A to Z, capital letters means anything that matches the character code from range A to Z, which is case sensitive. So anything capital letters would match that. And then backspace W would match any word character. So any characters, letters, capital letters, and underscore would match this. So I'm just going to quickly erase this and just walk through the common one. So the most common one you can do is just plain text. So if you are trying to find a text regexer, you just type regexer, or you can say created, then it will find created. So that's the most simplest way, is that most of you have probably used this before using search and replace, but just with string literal. But another thing you can do is, let's say you want not only to find a certain character, you want to replace everything. Let's say any and or any is should be replaced with something else. You can use the or operator. So the or operator just says match and or is. So you can see that and is are both getting a match. And there's also the group syntax. So the capture group so let's say you want and or is and you want a space afterwards. So how does it know whether if you don't have the capture group, then that wouldn't really work that well if you have, say, something else more complicated that is going on at the back. So it's just like maths. Basically, you're trying to make sure that you're only specifying for the or only works for these two words. But one more useful use for this is in search and replace, because if you have the capture group here, you can actually say replace. So you can actually specify the capture group. So if you say $1, it will reference the capture group that is in the regular expression. So for example, I'm matching and or is. So, and I want to replace it by the capture group, which if it matches and plus ABC. So if it, in places where it matches and, it will add and. So $1 would become and ABC. So you can see it here, and ABC. Same thing for is. If it matches is, the first capture group will replace it with is followed by ABC. So this one, if you have multiple capture groups, it can go $1, $2, $3, as many as you have. So that is a capture group. Next thing, another thing you can do is using character sets. So as you can see on the left here, there's actually a cheat sheet here. So if you go onto this website and you press cheat sheet, it has some summary of the common characters. So like character set is the one previously in the example. So you can say you want to match ABC, then it will only match ABC. And another way you can do it is you add the hat symbol that will say, I want to match anything except ABC. So any characters that matches is not ABC, it will show up as a match. But another way you can do this is you can specify a character range. So you can say A to C, that would match anything basically ABC, or A to Z, that would be every single character. But because this is case sensitive, so it doesn't match the capital letters. But if you use capital letters, then that will match that as well. So you can specify as many character in this character set that you want to match, and it will match them. But of course, if you take a look at this, it's only matching every single alphabet. What if you want to just get like every single text, maybe except the spaces? One way you can do that is using the quantifiers. So if you put a plus, it just says if it contains this character sets and it occurs one or more time, then it's a match. So you can see now it's all grouped together nicely. So that's one way. Or another way is you can specify the exact amount of characters. So you can say only match characters that are occurring 3 times in a row. So you can see it groups them by 3. Or you can say a minimum of 0 and 3. That will work as well. So this would be useful if you're trying to, let's say, limit a username by 10 characters. You can just say a 0 to 10. So it would not allow any matches for anything larger than 10. Another thing that you can do is, as you can see just now, it was matching pretty much everything. And sometimes you don't want to match everything. Sometimes you want to make sure that you only want to match something that begins or end with something. So let's say you want regex. So using the hat symbol again, it would only match anything that begins with regex. So like, let's say I have another instance here that is not the end. So right now this both would match, but if you put this at the front, it will only match the one that begins. Another way is for anything ending. So like English here, there's this symbol, the $sign, that just says anything ending in this. So if I say English, So for special characters, because dot is a special character in regex, you need to escape it using backslash, I think. Oh, oops, nope. Okay, it's gonna, not sure why that's not working. Okay, not sure why it wasn't working for that one. But basically this one just says it must end in that character. So you can use them both in combination and it will only match specifically A, B, C in that order. So if you try to add something at the back, it won't work. Something after it, it won't work. So you can say only match if it is digits and it occurs 3 times. So 1, 2, 3 would be a match. Anything else would not be a match. Okay. So that's quantifiers, but there's another quantifier as well. So there's also question mark. Question mark is just 0 or 1. So if it doesn't occur, it's still actually matching. Right now it's not showing that, but if you're using it in, let's say, for form validation, that would mean that even if there's nothing there, it would be a match. And also asterisk, which is just 0 or more. So same thing as just now, but instead of just matching 0 or 1, more would be a match too. Okay, so next up is special characters. So right now you can see I'm using character sets to define what is a match, but there's another easier way to do this rather than writing ranges all the time. It's using the special matches. I don't think it's not in the cheat sheet, but let's say you only want to match digits, that would be \D. So that would match digit. And then if you say plus, that would group them together. So that this whole thing is a match. And if you just use the capital version, it would be just the opposite of it. So \capital D is non-digits. So non-digits would be a match. So then you can also do \S for white space. So right now there's no white space, but if there's white space, you can see it matches. And then the capital version is just the opposite of that. So \capital S would only match non-white space characters. So white space character would be space and new line or something that is, well, there's no, it's white space. And then lastly, there's also the word characters, so \W. Word characters are anything alphabetical, alphanumerical, plus underscore would be a match. So yeah, other symbols are not a match. So that is the word character. And white space are not a match as well. But if you do it in capital, it would be capital W, it would be the opposite. So anything but word characters. And finally, there's the wildcard, pretty much the wildcard character. This one will match any characters except line breaks. So line breaks are not a match, but white space are a match, and every characters are matches. And of course, you can use quantifiers alongside with it too. So that would group them all up together. So those are the common regular expression patterns, but you can see that there are more, and you can easily look these up when you need to know them. At the end of this talk, I'll have a link to a list of resources so that anyone who's interested can try it out themselves or follow along a interactive tutorial, as well as download the slides. So next up, I'm going to show an example of using the string validation in a website. So right here, I have a website, a simple form example. And I have a bunch of fields that I want to limit based on these criteria. And then when I press submit, it will just say, if it is submitted correctly, it will say form success. If it is not, it's using the built-in HTML5 capability for form validation. So it will say it must match the requested format. So I have the code here. It's just a very simple HTML, page. So you have a form here, and when the form is submitted, it will call the handle submit function, which is a JavaScript function here. And all it does is, if it's successful, then it just creates an alert. Normally, if you were using this on an actual website, you would submit this to a backend server or some sort and maybe save it into a database. But right now, we're just pretending that that is what is happening here. So for using HTML5 for an input field, you can actually specify a pattern attribute, and that would allow you to specify a regular expression so that it will check if the user's input matches that regular expression. So this makes it very simple if you just want some very quick client-side validation. Of course, this is only client-side validation, so you should also validate the regular expression on the server side as well. So to make sure that if there's any malicious users, they would not be able to bypass this, because this is only on the client side. And of course, people using older versions of browser that does not support the HTML5 feature, they would also not have the validation on the client side. So just to show, just to complete this example, so this one says only Brunei phone numbers excluding +673. So For Brunei phone numbers, you can specify that the first character using a character set must start with 2, 3, 4, 7, or 8. So let's save that and then check if it works. So 2 would work. Let's try 6. It should not work. Yep. So that's but that's not complete. So it still needs to have numbers. So you can either do this using the \d for digits, or you can use a character set as well, and then just specify the number of times. So it can be a range, but right now, phone numbers are a fixed number. So in 7 numbers in total, the first number must start with 2, 3, 4, 7, or 8, and then following by 6 numbers, which can be anything from 0 to 9. So that's any numbers. And if I save this and I try it now, it's not working. But if I enter it in the correct format, the form will be submit will be successful. Then I can try the same thing for the next one. The username, I only want anything that is any characters. So I would specify the character set A to Z. I would also want only lowercase characters, and underscore and period, and then occurring from 5 to 20 times. And I save that, and if I try to type, let's say 4 characters, it would not work. If I type 5 characters, that would work. And if I go more than 20 characters, it would not work. And I can try ABCD with underscore and period, and that would still be successful. So next up, IC number. So let's say I want IC number in the format 000-6 digits. It's the same thing. So I would specify, let's use the special characters \d, occurring twice, followed by a dash, again \d. I think that's 6 characters. So save that. So anything, it would not work. But if I enter like an IC number in the IC number format, submit, that would be successful. So that is how you can use this for string validation in HTML5. But there are, if you don't like the way HTML5 is handling this validation, like maybe you want it to look nicer than this, there are libraries that support custom implementation of it, or you can just supply the regular expression and it will handle it in a different way, maybe show a red text below it or something like that. But if you know how to write the regular expression, then you have no problem using those libraries. Of course, if there's any format that is commonly well known, like for example, email patterns, and you need to create validation for email patterns, you can of course just look it up online. Most likely someone there's different variations of it. Of course, if you are using it for HTML input, I would recommend for email to just use the type email. It would actually validate it for you automatically. Right. So next example, let's do a search and replace example. So for search and replace, let's say I have these date in the ISO format, year-month-date, and I want to quickly, let's imagine that this is scattered throughout a huge document or a huge folder. You can even use this, if you look it up, you can find software that allows you to use bulk rename using regular expressions. So maybe you have file names that are named like this, but you want to change the format. So let's say I have these format and I want to change it to the UK format. So something like 2010, 2020. So I want to convert this format into this format. And but I don't want to do it manually because it's happening too many times. Maybe this is in an Excel sheet or something. So most IDEs and even some word processing software would have the ability to use regular expression to do search and replace. Here I'm using Visual Studio Code, and the way to enable search and replace with Visual Studio Code using regular expression is with this icon. There's normally a dot asterisk icon there. So just click on it to enable that. And I would just write the regular expression for what I want. So what I want is digits for the year would occur 4 times, followed by a dash and a digit that occurs twice, followed by a dash and another digit that occurs twice. So now I can replace them with something, but that is not what I want yet. I want to change the format. So the way to do that is to use a capture group. So I would want to capture the year. So I just surround the year in brackets, followed by the month, and followed by the day. So now that I have the capture group, I can specify them using the reference. So the first group would be the first bracket. So the year would be the first group, the day would be the second group, the month would be the second group, and the day would be the third group. So I want to change it into the UK format. So I want day first, slash, then the month, and then the year. And then you can do replace one by one, or I'm just going to do replace all, and that would change all of the format in one go. Okay. I'm just going to do one quick example, the final one. So this one, let's say I have a bunch of HTTP links in an old website, and I want to upgrade them all to HTTPS for the linking. But not all of the websites supports HTTPS. For example, this one, http.forever.com, doesn't support it. But I do know that gmail.com and google.com does support it. So one way, quick way to, and I only want to replace it for a tag in the href attribute. So I would say href, and then followed by HTTP. So that's the part I want to replace. And then it would be, I would say some of it has www dot, some of it not. So I'll use the or operator. So either they have www dot or none. Another way is also to use the question mark operator. I think that looks nicer, so I'll go with that. That just means 0 or 1. So for the ones that doesn't occur, it's still a match. For the ones that do occur, it's still a match. Then followed by the next group would be the domain name. So I say, I know I want to replace for google.com and gmail.com. So that is looking okay for me. Then I just want to replace it by href equals. But right now it's not in a capture group that I want. So I'm just going to surround this in a capture group. So that would be, because it's the first bracket, the outer bracket, that would be $1. So $1, that is the domain name. And then I just want to replace the front by HTTPS. There's no closing quotes because it is not part of the search. Then I just replace all. And you can see that for google.com, gmail.com, it's now changed to HTTPS. For everything else that I don't want to change, right, yeah, this is just a paragraph. So I don't want to change this. I only want to change it for the A tag. That is now changed. Right, so that was search and replace. So regex can be very useful, but sometimes it might not be the right tool for the job. So when is it not the right, when is it better to use something else rather than regular expression? So one of the most common usage not to use it is for anything with a nested structure. So for example, JavaScript object notation, HTML, XML, anything that can have nesting, it's probably not the best idea to use regex because regex does not have any way to support nesting. So for example, parsing HTML and XML, maybe if you're doing something quick and dirty, one line, well, search and replace is no problem because you're manipulating the text but not parsing it. But let's say you're using it for web scraping and you want to parse HTML structure. Because it is nested, this is not the best way to do it. The best way is, of course, to just use a HTML parser library. So most languages should have those available and you'll have a much easier time using those. Same thing for a CSV file. It is technically possible for maybe for a simple CSV file, but then you have to start to think about escaping the comma because CSV file is comma separated values. So comma, sometimes you can escape it by having it inside double quotes, but you don't know where the double quotes could be. It could be at the beginning of the text or end of the text, or it could just surround the comma. So it gets very complicated. In that case, it's better to just use a CSV library. Same thing for the URL path and query parameters. So sometimes you want to know what domain name is your web application currently running on, or extract query parameters. Those are better done using built-in libraries. Libraries, well, any libraries that is made to handle that. Okay, so where to go from here? So for anyone else who is still interested to learn more on their own, you can go for interactive tutorials where they walk you through the different patterns step by step to try it out yourself. There's regex1.com and also freecodecamp.org. For those of you that just want to try out what I showed, you can go to regexer.com. And I actually have everything, today's resources published at regex.desmond.app. So if you go over there, you'll see resources for today's talk. I also have the presentation slides available here, and of course the interactive tutorials. I'll just show it real quick. So yeah, for example, this one, first lesson is matching characters. So you can walk through all of these yourself so that you understand them better. For those of you that prefers video courses, there's also video courses on YouTube. And of course, you can play around in the playground like I did here. Okay, so that is at the end of the talk. And let me see if anyone have any questions. No? Well, for anyone that have any questions, they can reach me either with okay, I see one question. What is the most complex regular expression you have created thus far? Well, for me, I wouldn't say complex, but for my day-to-day job, I don't really write regular expression well, I do write some regular expression for validation purposes, but the most common types I write is for search and replace. So yeah, I don't really have anything in mind for most complicated one for pattern matching. But the most common ones I write would be like datetime format or converting SQL scripts from I'm using SQL Server, then I would have a create table script, but then I need to write update scripts for it as well, select script for it. It's it's a very manual process if I'm going to type all of those out, especially if that has a lot of columns. So what I would do is, because the create table script already has all the column names that I need. So what I can do is just copy that and then use regular expression to write a regular expression that match the table name, and then quickly run a search and replace to create the update query, select query, and everything else that I need for it. So that is the most common use case for me. For anyone else that have any more questions for me, they can reach me on my GitHub or LinkedIn. It's I believe if you go to the resources page, you should be able to find my information on there. So I believe that is all